This is 142.2, The Kingdom.
And once again, the Lombardi Trophy has a red and gold reflection. You can doubt the Chiefs. You can dislike the Chiefs. You can disrespect the Chiefs. You're gonna have to deal with the Kansas City Chiefs.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the 142.2 The Kingdom. I said the in the beginning. I'm a little bit rusty after missing last week, but it's all good in the hood. We are back with another episode after a fantastic Sunday night football outing for the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm Dominic. This is Richard. Hopefully we'll get some of the rest of the crew back in. What is up, Taylor? Good to see you. We got a lot to talk about. If you're listening to us, you're either listening to us via live stream on X or youtube.com/142.2 The Kingdom, or you are listening via Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Last week, unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it, but obviously, thank you to Richard and Trizzy, DG, and Corey for nailing it down as they always do. Last week, the loss to the Jags felt pretty rough. We had some concerns, but on Sunday Night Football, primetime game in front of the world to see against the hottest offense in the NFL, the Kansas City Chiefs defeated the Detroit Lions 30-17 handily. Mahomes had 4 total touchdowns, 3 in the air. His 4th rushing touchdown of the year, which I think ties for a career high already. Players of the game, Hollywood Brown with 2 touchdown catches, one on a shallow cross, and then one as a pop pass. A touchdown to the other touchdown was Xavier Worthy, the first touchdown of the game. And then shout out to a lot of Travis Kelce for probably having his best game of the year, 8 catches for 78 yards, I believe. But a convincing win over a really great football team. Richard, your thoughts?
Well, everything that I wanted to see happen and get fixed, for the most part, happened and got fixed. So that's the short version. Special teams was a lot better for the most part. Offense looked great. Defense cleaned up the fact that they were cleaned up their discipline issues, cleaned up the penalties, and the result was the Detroit Lions had their lowest output offensively by, I believe, both yards and points of the season. So that is best case scenario based upon how the season has started so far. They're 3-3. Rashee Rice officially returned to practice today, and he should be ready for Sunday coming up against the Raiders. So things are looking up now for everybody's getting healthy, with one exception, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Yeah, I mean, things are looking a lot better. I'm looking a lot more confident than I did just a week ago, considering where things stood after a just really unfortunate loss against the Jaguars.
Yeah, when we were discussing it last week in our private group chat, for me personally, it's not that I believed that the Chiefs weren't going to make the playoffs or have a chance at the division or anything. I just was surprised that for a team that was great situationally and buttoned up, and it seems like one problem is fixed, it felt like there was another problem arising, and whether that be the defense for a couple weeks, whether it be special teams penalties, or whether that be just overall lack of focus. And then, Mahomes played well in the Jags game, in my opinion, but one pick six turned the game, and he was technically the guy to make it happen. So, our man Trizzy was very defendant of the Chiefs, as he always is, and he was right that this team was going to be ready for the Lions, But at the same time, it's not that the Chiefs being 2-3 was abnormal. It's, to me, what was weird about last week, the Jags game, was that they blew a 14-point lead. And that's uncharacteristic of the Kansas City Chiefs. I know that happens in the NFL, but even like silly situational plays, Chris Jones standing, thinking that Trevor Lawrence is down at the goal line, where Trevor made that great play for a touchdown. That was rough to watch. You don't see Chris Jones making mistakes like that. The special teams penalties were killing us, especially with such great returns from Rashard Smith during that game. Uh, just it just wasn't the same type of focus that we're used to seeing, especially when they had such a great lead like that. That I had questions against a team that was the hottest team in football, uh, in the Detroit Lions. They were scoring 40 like it was nothing. And granted, if you look at hindsight, the opponents they faced to score those 40 points may have been a little questionable, but they're still the hottest team in the NFL. We couldn't beat them week 1 a couple years ago, and Mahomes is 0-2 against Jared Goff, which I know that doesn't mean much, but still something that Mahomes needed to prove once again to the world that he is that guy, and they did. And I'm happy for it. 0 penalties, which we'll probably talk about it a little bit, but the entire NFL world is back to from 1 week being one of the most penalized games I've seen the Chiefs commit to. The refs are helping the Chiefs once again. And that being said, DG is in the house. What is up, DG?
Good, fellas. What's going on?
We're
the world is healing, DG. We're paying off the refs again.
Yeah,
the world is healing. We are back to standard operating procedures.
We're back to normal, baby. Back.
Yeah, everything's back. Rashee Rice is back. We're paying off the refs again. We're slowly returning to normalcy for the most part. We'll get to the other situation later. But last week for the Jaguars, it was the little things. That was the biggest thing when I go back and watch the tape of that game, was the little things. It was the communication was off again. It was guys weren't in the right place, angles, leverage, that sort of thing. It was the little things that they weren't doing correctly. When you go back and watch the tape of the Lions, those are exactly the things that they're doing properly. You see that everybody knows where they're supposed to be at. Shout out to Juju for telling Hollywood Brown where the hell he was supposed to, what route he was supposed to run on his touchdown. Love that guy. But
That's
hey, it gets hectic in those huddles, man. When it's loud like that, trust me, you'll miss and have to ask somebody. Wait, what was the call again? Oh, okay, cool. So it was those little things that everybody was on the same page for. The special teams was cleaned up, minus a really wonky kick, extra point attempt from Harry, but otherwise he was fine the rest of the evening. More under center runs. The running efficiency was better. The run blocking was better. The pass blocking was phenomenal, especially with Jalen Moore having to come in on short notice for a spot start against one of the premier pass rushers in the league in Aiden Hutchinson. Three pressures and 1 sack on 30 plus dropbacks in 30 plus pass sets. That's a great day at the office for your backup left tackle to have against some really good edge rushers for the Lions. So honestly, hats off to the entire offensive line. They played great. The defense, yes, I give them props. They held the Lions to 17. That's great. We love to see that. I still wonder about some of the personnel decisions that Spags chooses to make sometimes, but at this point, It is what it is. I'm not the defensive coordinator. I'm just a fan who watches the games and film afterwards. So, it is what it is. Noel Williams played well. Jane Hicks played less, but I think that was more situational game plan focus. They kept their base defense out there, which forced the Lions to have to run personnel groupings differently. So, it was a chess match, and it was a chess match that the Chiefs defense ultimately won. So, can't complain too much on that.
Yeah. I think fully outside of the first drive for the Lions, defense kind of went ahead and settled in. The first drive was rough.
That's a crazy drive. That's probably like if you want a microcosm of what the Lions offense does, that's it right there. Like that's
definitely full on example of how good and effectively they can be in moving the ball down the field and absorbing clock.
Shout out to Tate Ratledge, man. That dude is so good.
But yeah, I thought defense settled in eventually at some point, and then the offense continues to take their game up a level every week. I think we're back to having fun on offense again. It looks fun. It looks explosive again. It looks like they are the more dominant unit again at this point in time. And it's great to see because now it matches what the defensive effort has been over the last 3 years to this point. So great to see a balance of great complementary football coming together. I think that's probably one of the cleanest games the Chiefs have played. I know a lot of people are going to sit here and say, well, they had no penalties. There could have been a lot more penalties called on them or whatever. It pays when you go out there and you execute, and you execute at the level that you know how to. And I just think that the Chiefs obviously just did a lot better job of that at this point. This receiving room continues to shine, as I think is arguably going to be the strength of this team moving forward to this point. All those guys in that room, Juju Smith-Schuster, Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy. Now you have Rashee Rice coming back. Even down to some of the littler guys like Rashard Smith and things of that nature and what they can bring to the table or whatever. I truly think that now you're starting to see with comparable tackle play what this offense can really be. And when you don't have to put everything on a 36-year-old aging Travis Kelce to this point and what he still can be out there for you as well. So, the offense, again, man, shout out to Jalen Moore. He was amazing to step in at such a short, late notice, to also have a baby the same day and show up to the game and, and ball out.
Strength.
Do his thing. And Jawan Taylor again for another week continues to be no penalties at all, not hurting this team anymore again. So, like I said, when this team can stay on schedule and they're not playing behind the chains or whatever, you see how good and effectively they can move the ball up and down the field. And I think it continues to keep moving forward. I don't think this offense is slowing down anytime soon. They look like they're having fun, and I'm just glad that they're back for sure now.
Yeah, I think the biggest
yeah.
thing for me is it's got to be a tackle play. I mean, a lot of people had a lot of questions when Veach decided I'm going to hand $30 million to Jalen Moore to base and draft Josh Simmons and say Jalen Moore is, and then draft Josh Simmons to say Jalen Moore, you're going to be my backup tackle. Be a left tackle, right tackle. You're going to be basically my sixth man on the offensive line. And a lot of people are like, why are you paying him $15 million a year to do that? Well, you saw the first reason, as if for whatever reason Josh Simmons is unavailable, guess what? You can slot him in, and he's going to give you great, or at the very least, serviceable tackle play.
Mm-hmm.
The other side of that coin is it send a message to Jawan Taylor, the most penalized player over the last 2 years, by the way, in terms of both penalties per game and total penalties over the last 2 years, is Jawan Taylor. Hey, look, man, your pass blocking numbers, all that, your skills, that's not at issue here. It's your penalties that keep hurting us. You either need to clean it up and start playing better, or look, we have your replacement right here, and we can do it at any time. Like if we feel we gotta do it, then you're getting replaced and you're getting put on the bench. Right. So I think, especially over these last 3 weeks, I think he's heard that message loud and clear, and he's stepped up his game tremendously compared to what was happening at times last year. Also, he's healthy. Like this man's 100% for probably the first time, or is about as close to 100% as you can get for probably the first time in his career. So since he's entered the league. So I think we are finally seeing the fruits of all of the resources that have been poured into this offensive line since that debacle in the Tampa Bay Super Bowl, that now you see what it's supposed to look like. And Kingsley Suamataia has, again, done phenomenal after another week of just stacking reps, stacking good games. And now that decision to trade Joe Thuney instead of pay him and then pay Trey Smith instead looks like a no-brainer now, because Kingsley is looking the best he's ever looked as a pro to this point. So when you don't have to worry about Pat running for his life every other down, this is what the offense looks like. They can score 30 with what looks like relative ease. So really, for me, the only thing that can stop the Chiefs' offense at this point is the Chiefs. Like if the play calling is on point, everybody is available and playing to the level that we've seen that they can play at, it's hard for me to see how this team doesn't score 30 plus every game, barring like unreal efforts from the opposition on defense.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of talk this year about our running back room and how we need a star running back, and the slow start and everything. I think at this point, ever since the Giants game, I feel like the running game's gotten better week by week. It's never, at this point, people should not expect more than 60 or 70 yards from Pacheco a game. It's going to be a balanced rotation of Kareem Hunt, Isaiah Pacheco, some Brashard Smith, and Mahomes scrambling. Because now Mahomes consistently, except for that Giants game, has run effectively in every single game. And I think that's going to be part of the game plan. Now, is Mahomes taking a couple hits that I wish he wouldn't take during the game? He's been doing that a lot this year, and I want him to calm down a little bit. But I think
my quarterback, my QB1's a psycho, and that's the best kind of guy that you want to have as your QB1. The guy who's gonna do what he's got to do, even if you may not like it sometimes.
So I think when people are like, we should trade for a running back for like a Breece Hall or Rashard White, I think at this point, especially with Brashard Smith becoming more and more involved in the passing game and seeing just the ability that he has in the backfield, I think we shouldn't necessarily trade for a running back. I think, if anything, we should trade for a pass rusher. I don't know.
Quarterback. Can I get to the quarterback?
Yes. Yeah, that's the only, but I don't really know what options we could realistically trade for at this point in time. I know there's some talks of like the free agents that haven't been signed, but there's a reason they haven't been signed, The offense last year, I'm convinced, based off what I'm seeing right now, is that if Hollywood never got injured, that this offense would be exactly like this last year. A little bit. I know Tyquan Thornton, he didn't play that much he didn't have that much effectiveness this last game because we didn't really need him to. but I feel like this is what the offense was going to be like last year. But the difference is the offensive line play was significantly worse. And even though Josh Simmons is having to deal with some family issues, Jalen Moore has proven that contract, like you said, may have been questionable to those that thought it was weird to have pay a backup. But this past game, he was one-on-one with Aiden Hutchinson, and I only saw Aiden really get to Mahomes maybe twice at one point, but he didn't get the job done. That's the difference. So Jalen had to play serviceable left tackle play. He played really well. He's most likely going to be playing against this Raider game, which I think is going to be good for him. And I'm going to be interested to see how he does against Max Crosby. But this Chiefs offense, man, it's like you said, DG, they're having fun again. And now you get a guy in number 4 who at the time before Mahomes fucked his knee up, before he did that, he was top 3 in receiving yards and receptions. He was basically doing the role that Kelsey's been doing most of his career, like attacking the zone, getting open, and just being a menace. I am excited for it. I know there's speculation on how much he's going to be used in this Raiders game. I wouldn't be surprised if he has a kind of a showing out like Xavier Worthy did against the Ravens this year, where Xavier didn't have all the snaps, but when he played and was on the field, he burned them. I think that's totally on the board this week against the Raiders.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Ford coming back creates a lot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's funny you talk about last year because I think if Hollywood Brown doesn't get hurt on the first play of preseason, I think he probably is doing – I agree. I think he's probably doing exactly what you see him doing right now, which, by the way, is mind-blowing to me based on what he made his name on coming into his career, both in Baltimore and in Arizona, as being primarily a deep threat. I don't think people really kind of understand just how transformative his game has become this season. He's not being asked to stretch the field. What he's being asked to do is be a contested catch possession type receiver, move the sticks type guy, which is something he had never been prior to his career, prior in his career or in college. So just seeing that from him, being willing to take on a completely different role than what he's been used to in his career, is probably one of the biggest reasons why this offense has stayed afloat without Rashee Rice. Because Xavier Worthy going out didn't help things, but you immediately saw that Hollywood Brown's going to be a reliable target this year because he was literally catching just about everything that was being thrown in his general direction. So seeing that development honestly makes me very excited to see how he meshes with what Rashee Rice is going to be doing moving forward. I'm already imagining how that's going to look when they're setting them both on shallow crossers over the middle of the field, because that's going to look extremely scary for defenses to try to figure out who's going to get the ball. You add in Juju, you add in Travis, who at 36, like you said, is having one of his best years in a few years, based on both underlying and just regular counting stats. And there's still some guys that haven't even gotten really much run so far in this year so far. Noah Gray has been primarily a blocking tight end, but he's had a few nice catches these last couple of weeks. Brashard Smith is slowly getting there, but you see that every time he gets the ball in his hands, there is something positive happening. He's shaking a tackle. He's running by somebody to go get a first down. He's making something out of nothing when you think that he's probably going to be going for a loss. So you see just the dynamic nature of this offense is so clearly back. And then you're adding Rashee Rice to that mix. That, like I said, I think this should be a 30-plus point offense really moving forward. Obviously, health permitting and barring any weirdness with Andy and his play calling, which you kind of have to factor in a little bit because sometimes it happens. But I just don't think a running back is necessary for this offense right now. If we were 2-4 and we were still struggling to score 24 points, I would be willing to have that conversation a little bit more. But when you look at what the defense has had to do through 6 weeks and you start breaking down what they're doing, 10% of the time Spags is running cover zero defense. And that is by far the highest percentage in the league through 6 weeks. So I feel like he's already kind of breaking some tendencies that he usually does with how his zone man splits are. 10% is high even for him because he loves to be selective about when he blitzes. He doesn't want you to know that he's blitzing. And 10% of the time you're running man coverage through 6 weeks, you're running cover zero. That's becoming a trend. It's becoming a tell. And I think part of that is because, the pass rush isn't there. The pass rush hasn't been consistent week to week. And again, versus the Lions, Chris Jones was defeating a lot more double teams this time around, but both sacks you get on Jared Goff are cleanup sacks. One by George, one by Charles Omenihu. So, it still doesn't feel like it's running in tandem with what the coverage unit is doing right now because the DBs are being asked to do a lot of heavy lifting still. Yeah. Now, when you say who can we get realistically in terms of pass rush help, there's one guy who for the past few weeks I've said this can be a guy who should not be entirely difficult to fit onto this team. The only issue with it at this point would be what is this team going to ask in return for him? And it's Malik Collins on the Cleveland Browns. Now, yes, he plays primarily that 3 tech like Chris Jones does, and some people would say, okay, well that's a little bit redundant. But Chris Jones is still playing 80+% of the snaps on defense. He's playing entirely too much. Even for as good as he is, he's getting overexposed out there. He's having to come out at bad times because he's literally playing practically every snap through entire halves, and that's just not sustainable, even for a guy of his caliber at his age. So having a guy like Malik Collins takes guys off, not only can take guys off the field that you don't want on the field, but you can also have another guy in the rotation that can spell Chris Jones, and you're not going to see that much of a fall off in their play. He's got 3.5 sacks on the season from the D tackle position. He's great versus the run and versus the pass, so you don't necessarily have to take him off the field for any one specific down. And it allows this defense to still do what Spags clearly wants from this defense. You get pressure up the middle with Chris Jones or Malik Collins or both, and it allows these DNs that have these high motors like George, like Ashton Gelati, and like Charles Omenihu to go clean up and to clean up the quarterback, even when they don't get there. So if you're looking for somebody schematically that's going to fit what this defense is clearly trying to do, then for me, I think it's a no-brainer to go get a Kansas City native who like Malik Collins, who is not on a very expensive deal. It's practically a one-term deal with an out on this year. It's purely going to come down to what is Cleveland going to ask for him, knowing that contenders are very likely going to call because Cleveland is not going anywhere this season.
Yep. Yeah, if I had to pick out a guy that I think that the Chiefs should probably call upon, I'm a little bit indifferent because I think that they need more help at the edge position than they do in the interior. I know Chris Jones has played a lot up to this point, but I think that I think you really got a solution to that. You should play Omar Norman a lot more, since
100%.
he's younger. Also I
He's
think
got the ability.
Jerry Tillery could help out with that a lot more as well too. But a guy who I've kind of had my eyes on, and I think that would be a fit, but may not be somebody who Spags necessarily loves at the edge position, but I think would help would be Jalen Phillips, to the Miami Dolphins. I think you could honestly get him for more of a cheaper price. It probably, to me, it'd be either between him or Bradley Chubb at this point. Chubb might be a little bit more of a fit of what Spags likes at his edges or whatever, but I do think that Jalen Phillips, especially with his given injury history and things of that nature, would be more of a reasonable price for the Chiefs to go out and try to make a trade and get him to come in here. Now the question is, will Spags use him? And I think that Spags has got to get to a point where he has to realize on third downs, that's all you need him for, man. That's it. Just put him in there in a position.
All of Chiefs Kingdom is kicking themselves seeing Josh Uche cook in Philly. And we had him.
Well, cook is a relative.
He was cooking for the first 4 weeks.
If you've seen the state of that Philly pass rush lately, you would change your tune a little bit. It's not looking good over there either.
And I still like Uche as a candidate, but
the first 4 weeks though he was playing really well. They're on a 3-game skid, kind of in a way.
I think that you got to realize that in this league, man, third and long is your money down. You have to get off the field. And the one sole way you're going to do that now is with speed and using somebody out there that can at least bend the corner and create instant pressure for you. It's one of the reasons if you watch Nick Bonito for the Denver Broncos, who you're going to have to face this year.
Twice.
Watch Nick Bonito on the edge this year. Watch how fast his get off is.
It's the fastest get off in the league right now.
Yeah, it's the sole thing in this league that's the way this league is trending, man. These quarterbacks are getting a lot more athletic. They're running a lot more. You're starting to even see that with your own quarterback here in Kansas City, having to use his legs a lot more this year or whatever, just because of how good these pass rush systems are. You know, when you have a guy like an Aiden Hutchinson, you have a guy like a Max Crosby, you have those guys out there on the edge. So Jalen Phillips to me is somebody that could come in and I'm not saying he'd put up astronomical numbers for the Chiefs or anything like that, but he would at least provide that instant pressure that they would need to create some kind of chaos with a 4-man front, which they're going to have to do if they want to go anywhere in this season.
Yeah, I feel like for a pass rusher, you don't really need that much. You just need a guy that adds a little bit more pressure, makes the quarterback just hesitate a little bit, and the sacks will come. I mean, the last time the Chiefs were effective as a sacking team, I think it wasn't the year that they were the best defense, was it?
It was the first Eagles Super Bowl. We were second to their 55.
With Carlos Dunlap, with rookie George Karlaftis, Chris Jones having his best season of his career.
You know why? Because you had a guy like Frank Clark.
There you go.
In the corner for you. and create instant pressure.
And
Yeah,
he didn't even
and I would like
have
to point
monster
out-
stats that year. And
I would
what
like to
he
point
did
out,
was
he was playing right next to Chris Jones. He wasn't always playing on the exterior. He was playing on the interior right next to Chris Jones. I would just like to point that out. But
create instant pressure.
yeah, but you need somebody. I'm in total agreement. I have been team pass rush really since the beginning of the season. My only issue on the terms of running back was not the process during the draft, but the process during free agency.
Mm-hmm.
Because guys like Javonte Williams, Rico Dowdle, etc. went way after in the offseason. Way after we handed $2 million to Elijah Mitchell to have him be in healthy scratch for 6 games. So
see how that's working.
that's the thing that I had an issue with. It wasn't so much the draft because there's like 3 running backs in this draft realistically that we could have gotten that are doing literally anything right now as a rookie. That's Cam Scadaboo, that's Bill Krosky-Merritt, and it's kind of Shoal Tootin, like kind of, but not really. Everybody else is your usual suspects. Ashton Genty, Quinshon Judkins, like these are all guys that we had no chance of getting because they went way too early. So really, I think it needs to be pass rush, which is something that they tried to identify in the draft. And I think if they get more playing time, if they continue to work themselves in, I think we'll see the fruits of that. But I think if they're going to do anything to upgrade this team, it's got to be the pass rush in some form. I don't care if it's a DT that can rush the passer or you get a defensive end who, quite frankly, needs to push Mike Dana to like 8-10 snaps a game at this point. But, just something to supplement the guys that are already here, because the guys that are here collectively have not gotten it done consistently to this point. So,
yeah, I think that's going to be something that Veach is probably pushing the most. I know Corey's been very critical of Pacheco for at least the past 2 years on this show, but I feel like Pacheco's playing better and better each week. I mean, also it's hard to be an effective running back in an Andy Reid system recently, unless you're Kareem Hunt in his prime. So I mean, Pacheco's getting better. I think the run blocking's gotten better to a very great degree. Sumatia, man, I think has to be the most underrated player on the team that no one's talking about.
that's a good thing, because that means he's doing well.
Yeah, so happy for him.
Not the guy they wanted to cut.
Yeah, crazy. It's almost like now that he has a full off season plus 6 weeks and 3 preseason games to play a new position, it's almost like he's figured it out, at least somewhat now.
And no pressure of a possible history on the line to the point where you bench him after 2 weeks.
He got up against some crazy interior guys to start the season.
So happy for Sumatia. I know the defense has its issues and the pass rush could be a lot better, but considering what our struggles are, you got guys like Nick Bolton and Leo Chanel and Drew Tranquil that have really stepped up in the linebacker room, in my opinion. I know I want Jeff Bossa to play a little bit, but the linebackers have been phenomenal this year. I know CB2 is kind of, and CB3 has been kind of shaky here and there with Shamari Connor playing cornerback snaps and, Jalen Watson being up and down. But I feel like as the weeks go by, this defense, It's a Spags defense before it became the number one defense in the league was always a defense that took a while to get things cooking. And later in the season, the defense consistently since Spags has been here got really tightened up. So I'm happy about that. I think we're only going to get better. This next stretch of games, Raiders, Commanders, Bills, Bye, and Broncos. I think when we were freaking out about having 3 losses and losses piling up, the good thing that we didn't realize is how this year the NFL, there's not really been juggernaut teams unless you count the Colts and the Bucks. Like the Bucks are like fighting for everything, right? There've been close games every game. The Colts have the number one offense, but it's Danny Dimes at quarterback. The Bills lost 2 in a row. So like the 1 seed is still up for grabs. Like I feel like there's no spectacular team. And with the Chiefs figuring out their problem, it's honestly made it so that the Chiefs can figure out their stuff. And I feel like some of the losses that I had this year aren't necessarily going to be losses anymore, or at least could be very interesting. I think that Buffalo game is going to be a potentially a really good game for the Chiefs, in my opinion.
Yeah. The good thing is we don't play the Bucks this year, so they can do whatever they want to do with their season. Which, quite frankly, it's crazy to me that they're 5-1, considering they haven't had Chris Godwin for most of the year. They haven't had Mike Evans for most of the year, and I'm pretty sure they've been without Tristan Wirfs for a little bit, and like they've had guys coming in and out of the lineup. So them being 5-1 is honestly pretty scary for the NFC, because when they get fully healthy, that's going to be a very interesting team to watch. The Colts, I mean, look, I know they say you are what your record says you are, but I mean, who have they played? if I'm being honest, DG, they've played the Cardinals. They've played.
They struggled against.
Yeah, they struggled against in the Jacoby Brissett revenge game. That if not for a terrible turnover, probably would have ended in a loss. Who else have they played so far this year? They're gonna play the Chargers. They're gonna play the Chargers this week. Who lost 2 in a row? Yeah, they've played the Raiders. They've played the Titans, and they've played the Dolphins. They won by 1 against Denver, and they lost to the Rams. So, look, they're 2-1 in 1-score games. Every game, with the exception of Miami and Vegas, has been close at one point in time. And the Titans are obviously not good this year because they just fired their head coach. So that season is in the toilet for them. So, look, kudos to them for taking advantage of their schedule, but their schedule gets significantly harder in the second half of the season after they come off of their bye, which coincidentally is going to start against us in Kansas City. Right. The Bills have a lot of issues on offense that they have to figure out, and their defense can't stop a tackling dummy at the moment. The Chargers have lost 2 in a row and lost 2 of their last 3, and they struggled to figure it out against Miami, and Miami gave them that game at the end. So, the AFC is pretty much wide open this season. Anything can happen, but pretty much all the top teams play everybody at least once. So you really have to, all of these games matter. So this is kind of that part of the season where you have to take advantage of the games that you have. Yeah. And you have like this Raiders game comes at the perfect time to really see what the ceiling of this team is offensively, because look, is Geno Smith, Jacoby Myers is now apparently in trade talks and
Not practicing.
could be traded as soon as this weekend. So who knows if he even plays? Ashton Genty is basically their only consistent offensive threat week to week, and they lost Colton Miller for a substantial amount of time anyway.
Yes.
So, this team is, you could say this looks like a trap game because you have the Commanders and the Bills coming up the next 2 weeks, but look, it's the Raiders. You should beat them by 2 touchdowns. And if you don't, then there's a problem. This is a team that you have more talent than them. You're healthier than they are. You have more resources than they do at this point in the season. They're not going to have Brock Bowers. He's already been ruled out for Sunday. So who is going to be the threats on that team. Mm-hmm. So you should they should win this game. I don't see any reason why they shouldn't win this game and win it convincingly.
Yeah. The only way they lose this game is if they go out there and they beat themselves. Penalties, turnovers, kind of similar to how things went against them in the Christmas game, for real. Penalties, turnovers, and things of that nature. Chiefs just not being the Chiefs. They're down Brock Bowers. Looks like Jacoby Myers is probably gonna be going back to New England here soon. That's where I foresee him probably ending up at. I think that you're catching the Raiders at a really good time where they need to go out and assert their dominance for real at this point. And the only way you're going to do that is if you go out and execute the same way you did on Sunday night. I think Pat kind of spoke to it today on the radio when he said, we haven't played a game at noon in a while. So this could be one of those weeks where, we really have to get up for this game or whatever, just because it's not in that 3:25 or 7:20 window, or we know the primetime lights is really on us. So we got to be prepared and ready to come out and execute and play well. There's no reason you should lose to this team at all. And frankly, their quarterback is horrible.
He's the only starter he's the only quarterback who's reached double-digit interceptions.
Yes.
6 weeks into the season.
Yes, I took Geno Smith for 10.5 interceptions on the year. He's got 10. I need one more, Geno. So hopefully the Chiefs can deliver me my bet.
I can't believe that ticket's about to cash potentially 7 weeks into the season.
7 weeks into the season. Thank you, Geno. For going out there and leading the league in interceptions at this point in time. But Geno Smith has not been good at all. And I think the sole weapon that they do have right now is Ashton Genty. I think if you stop him and make pretty much, like I said the week previous, put the game in Jared Goff's hands for the Lions, I think you got to do the same for the Raiders. Put the game in Geno Smith's hands and
absolutely.
And results.
Yeah. I mean, and to that point, the Chiefs have not allowed a 100-yard rusher from a running back in almost 2 years. Mm-hmm. The last time they did was the Christmas game against the Raiders, a little over 100 yards to Zamir White in that Raiders Christmas game. So, that speaks to what the game plan should be and pretty much has been for defense the last couple of years. You stop the run, or you do whatever you can to stop the run, be that schematically or just all out, committing to it. and you put the ball in the quarterback's hands to go win the game. This is another instance where Geno Smith is more than likely not going to run. He that's not where he's at this point in his career. So do exactly what you've been doing. You need to create havoc in the pocket. You need to force him to either make quick decisions or force him to hold the ball so long that he thinks he can make a play, and you punish him for it. Yeah. So I think this is another opportunity where the defense can start to create some turnovers. We either force no turnovers or we force multiple turnovers. We've going into last week's game, we were averaging 2 turnovers a game for the past 3 weeks. So I think this is an opportunity to kind of get back on that trend. And Geno's going to give you opportunities. He's going to throw the ball. He's basically like Russell. You got to treat him like he's Russell Wilson. He's going to throw the ball. He's going to take chances. You got to capitalize off those.
Yeah. Chiefs are +4 in the turnover differential right now, so they've been really good at taking the ball away and then protecting the ball as well. So I think that plays a huge factor into this game. Like I said, the only way this Raider team comes in and beats you if you blatantly just don't take care of the ball and don't do what you're used to doing. As long as you stick to your characteristics, there's no reason, like you said, Rich, that this team shouldn't win this game by 2 scores or double digits at that point either. So, it's a rivalry game. You know how the city feels about this game. You know how Chiefs fans feel about this game. So go out there and handle your business and do what you need to do. Make a bad team look bad.
Yeah, it's going to be real.
100%. It's going to be very. I think defensively, I'm just going to be interested to see if we continue being good at getting turnovers, because Geno leads the league in turnovers, or leads the league in interceptions. I want to see some picks. Let him throw some picks. All right. I want us to do what we did. I want us to do what we did to Jameis last year. Get a guy benched. That's all I want.
I just need one.
If there's one thing you can set your watch to, it's the Geno A-time interception cashing, because
just one.
One.
Well, DG has United States dollars on Geno anytime interceptions, so
Bring me, Geno.
I will say one of the underrated things about last week is we held the Lions to under 100 yards rushing, and I think no one's really been talking about that. Could that have just been game plan? I mean, Jared Goff only threw 29 times, so it's not like they were very pass heavy last week. They still ran the ball like 23 times for like 98 yards. So we held them pretty well. I think we do the same thing against Ashton Genty. I think it's going to be pretty hard for him to have a huge game. I know he's kind of had an up and down year, but his potential is good. And I think we'll be able to quell them a little bit. It's just going to be interesting to see. The key matchup to me is if Josh Simmons is still out, it's Jalen Moore versus Max Crosby. I know he did well against Ian Hutchinson, but sometimes it just depends on who you match up and how it goes. So I think that's the key of the game. And the great thing about Raider Week is that even if the Raiders do not look that great, it's a division game, and the Chiefs take it seriously no matter what. And
weird games, even when it comes to Raider Week. But yeah, that's the one thing that's kind of, with all the talk of the Chiefs offense is back, Rashee Rice is back, it had to be something, right? And as it turns out, it's based on everything I've heard. It looks like Josh Simmons is going to be out potentially for this week as well. I get it. I know people are concerned. They want to know what's going on. Look, I just hope he's okay. I hope everything is good with him personally. But look, it's not my business. It's not my business to know his business. I just hope everything's okay. I wish him well. And this is why we signed Jalen Moore, is to be the guy who steps in for either of the tackles. So, it just is what it is. X has been an interesting place today based on Andy Reid's rightful refusal to offer any information. I can guarantee he probably knows what's going on at this point. And quite frankly, the people that do know, and that's all I care about. Because
same as Mahomes was same when with the comments too, because he said he and Josh had a private conversation.
I'm assuming he's had conversations. I would be surprised if he hadn't at this point. I would be very surprised if he hadn't at this point.
Just didn't players know without tailing them.
Leo literally said after the game, they knew. If you listen to any player interviews the past 48 hours, I think they have a pretty good idea of what's going on at this point.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. I hope everything's good with him, and it's none of y'all's business. Okay, let's chill out and let the business be handled, please.
I'm not terribly worried about this.
My pops has a saying, mind the business that pays you. So, if it doesn't pay you, then it ain't your business to know. It is what it is. Family is always first. Family always comes first before anything. These guys are human beings. At the end of the day, Josh Simmons, if you ever listen to this, take care of your business, man. We're praying for you, and hopefully whatever's going on, God is always with you. Hopefully he makes it back, and we'll see what happens from there. But this is the reason why Brett Veach is who he is, and why he does his job to the fullest degree. And he did that this year, man. You put yourself in that position to not have these issues, to not see a Wanye Morris starting at left tackle anymore. And that's the reason why you paid Jalen Moore to come in and be your swing tackle at this point. So I fully expect Jalen Moore to be able to go out there and do his job and play well at this point in time. I think that this is honestly, I think it's really good for him, because it's getting them the chemistry he really needs, because who knows, next year Jalen Moore could be your starting right tackle at this point.
100%.
You never know. The reps are definitely needed at this point in time. So yeah, man, whatever's going on with Josh Simmons, man, it is what it is. Take care of that, man. And just know we're here for you.
100%. I think what we should end. There's a couple things I want to end on. They could be quick. One is the Brian Branch situation is very interesting. After the game, he has been suspended without pay. The appeal came back, and it failed. And now all of Detroit and national media that just hates the idea of the Chiefs being buttoned up and having penalties declined, that, even the University of Texas at I forget the E and the P part, but UTEP.
Hey, yo, DG, what's your university system doing, bro?
It ain't mine. It's them UTEP minor people.
What's your university
Conference
system?
USA.
Get your people at Austin to tell them to figure their shit out, bro.
No, it's them El Paso people. They're the ones digging around and trying to, come up with certain narratives or whatever.
Because we just know that when Alex Smith was the quarterback for 3 years, that they got favorable calls compared to the Patriots.
Oh yeah, Alex Smith totally needed.
They included those years.
Yeah, definitely.
You know?
Also, shout out to
I
Packers.
wish they
legend
got
Jordy-
favorable calls back then.
Yeah, shout out to Packers legend Jordy Nelson for standing on league business. Good job.
Like if you're listen,
Bro.
if you're spending till Wednesday to talk about the refs for a game that happened Sunday night, then it's an obvious choice.
Brother, you got a national
team's not
football
taken
game in
seriously.
3 days.
Right, you gotta
Yeah.
move on.
You got Sunday night.
Practice for them
Against the hottest
Hey, you got the
against
Bucks
the
coming up,
hottest
my friend.
team.
right,
The hottest team in the
Right.
league.
and we're still talking about
It just goes to show they're not
Ability?
serious right now.
Dan Campbell, get your people in line. God.
and then to speak to the Brian Branch situation.
I'm thinking
I
it's
don't know-
more of it's not a Dan Campbell thing, I don't think anymore.
I don't know what Brian Branch was doing, trying to appeal the suspension. Obviously, all of America watched you sucker punch a
Bro,
guy
you got caught,
on
you didn't
national,
just you didn't just get caught in 4K. You got caught in 8K ultra high def. Like,
you know. And then on top of that, I think this has been like your 4th fine of the year or whatever. This is week 7 we're going into. We're
Yep.
7 weeks into the season, and you've already had 4 fines for unsportsmanlike conduct. Like, come on, fam. Like,
Brother,
at some
since you've
point
been
in
in the
time,
league, you've
I'm
sent
starting to think-
$100,000. You spent
Right.
100,000 United States dollars back to the league because you can't control yourself on the field.
the issue is you, sir. It's not the league. The problem is you. The anger.
Also shout out to Kirby Joseph for letting everybody know that
Oh my!
facing the Chiefs isn't hard. It's just execution.
And you go on, then have
Yeah.
the absolute audacity to go on a 2-hour plus X rant about officiating. That
23
shit
tweets.
was funny.
The crazy part is, like, you don't even have to play the Chiefs again unless you see February. Like, so I can see it. You know, if this was the Broncos or something like that, I understand it. You know, we got to play this team twice a year, whatever. Like, if this
Shit, if it was the Raiders, if it was the Raiders, I'd understand it. Like,
is this gonna happen in the next game? Yada yada yada. Like, you play this team what? Once every 4 years, maybe. You know, and you sit on Twitter and go on a 2-hour rant. It just goes to show you where that locker room truly is, man. Sorry.
Dude, the St. Brown podcast came out, and everyone's talking about it. Dan Campbell went on the local radio and was like, he confirmed that New York was the one that checked on that first touchdown drive.
oh, brother, it was a
stopped it
scoring
from being
play.
a touchdown. I was like,
Bro, it was a scoring play. Of course, New York's
They check
going to
on
look at
every,
it.
yeah, like they check on every. How many times in the broadcast have they said the league reviews every scoring play?
They were going to review it anyway. Like,
Right. And your quarterback wasn't set. You can't move. There's a rule, and people want to break out the rule book. When you go from underneath center, you got to run in motion and you got to get in set. It's not like being shotgun where you're back there and you can do whatever the hell you want to do. Like, know the rules, guys. You've been in the league for how long? But we've obviously known some teams don't know the rules. Kyle Shanahan. You know, so there's that.
I mean, it is what it is. You know, I wish the Lions to have a decent season.
they even took
You know,
the ball
but-
at the start of the game.
but
they didn't defer.
I can't. I guess my thing is it's week 6 of the season, and this one loss is in your head so badly that you're not even focused on the team that you're about to play next, who is playing inspired football and has the MVP of the league.
They didn't even go about the Packers loss this much. Like, what? Like, bro.
Conference game. They're in your conference, you know. They could potentially
Yeah, you actually have to see them again.
end your season.
You probably will see them again.
Yeah, right?
I mean, the other thing I wanted to mention is seemingly in the past 2 weeks, Mahomes is now the favorite to be the MVP. Leads the league in total touchdowns, total yards.
I love Vegas so much.
Has really changed and improved since he famously phrased the tackle that turned the tide on First Things First, the strip back fumble from the Giants game. He's been unbelievable, and man, it's nice to see Mahomes back on top of the MVP race. I think Baker currently should be the MVP, but I think also Vegas is giving more of a projection of the trend that the Chiefs are on compared to what Baker is doing, because Baker is playing extremely well and he's willing his team to win in Baker fashion, which is extremely entertaining. But at the same time, I don't know how. I bet Vegas thinks it's not as sustainable as what Mahomes and the Chiefs could do.
Yeah, if the season ended today, Baker Mayfield is the MVP, and I would say that pretty convincingly. Baker Mayfield is probably the MVP through 6 weeks. You look at Chris Godwin has been out all of except for maybe 2 games. Mike Evans has been out for all of except for 2 games.
Yeah.
Bucky Irving has not played in weeks. You have Tristan Wirfs just got back a couple weeks ago. I mean, this team is dealing with a lot of injuries right now.
And they just lost Mbuka.
And they just lost Emeka Ibuka. So, like, these guys are seemingly losing a dude every other week, and they're still 5-1. So, Vegas is funny because they love asking the "is it sustainable" question by changing MVP odds as soon as somebody else starts playing well. So that's classic Vegas sports books right there. So, look, if the offense keeps doing what it's doing, I think it's probably going to be neck and neck between Baker Mayfield and Patrick Mahomes throughout the rest of the season, because I'm going to be honest, I don't see that Bucs offense slowing down if they keep doing what they're doing, if they eventually get healthy, and if everybody stays healthy for the Chiefs, I don't see this Chiefs offense slowing down. So really, it's in terms of MVP conversations, it's just going to come down to probably who can stay healthy the rest of the season and who can keep their play up moving forward. So we shall see.
For sure. Well, Raider week, I think noon game at Arrowhead. It's going to be great. The return of Rashee Rice is exciting. And then you pair that with Xavier Worthy, with Hollywood Brown, with Juju Smith-Schuster, with more Tyquan Thornton, please. I still like what he's done this year.
It's so funny the fact that it's a noon game. The fact that it's a noon game, but it's still being broadcast to most of the country. So even when it's not a primetime game, it's practically a primetime game.
It's Mahomes.
It's going to be fantastic.
And I get to mute the TV because it's
Kelsey,
Tony Romo
all the guys. Jim Nance.
And Jim Nance. I don't know, Jim.
I don't know if I like this play, Jim.
Mitch Holthus can serenade me for 3 hours on that game. Thank you.
I don't know, Jim.
Allow me to over-explain a play that you clearly just saw and explain why it worked and Mahomes' thought process, and rather than sinking in the moment. That's what I want to hear on my television screen, Tony Romo. It is what it is. Guys, thank you so much for listening to 142.2 The Kingdom live via X and YouTube at youtube.com/142.2 The Kingdom. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the things at X, all the social medias. Next week, we're back. on Wednesday, as usual, at 7:30 p.m.
The
Central Standard Time.
Commanders.
Yes. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Enjoy the Raider game and have a good night. Take it easy.